if you've never had coffee before, or chocolate before, or caffeinated tea before, I say don't drink it. The title of this video is, I'm not sure yet, but it's going to be that if you've never had coffee or caffeine before, don't drink it. And the interesting thing is because people don't, I'm not going to say people don't like it. People may be getting to understand that I promote having licensed dealers for all medicines. And I've explained it in many different ways. And right now our system is devilish. And that's the newest explanation I've come up with, because we've put medicines in the hands of stealers, thieves, and killers. And so our system is devilish. But if you have licensed dealers and put medicine in the hands of scientists or medicinal plants that come from God, they'd come from God, not the devil. They're medicines. Drugs are medicines. Then it's up to us to be responsible. And so I'm wanting people to see, no, I'm not promoting more use. I'm promoting less. Right now it's being promoted by being in people's hands, as being in their faces out in the streets and stuff for people who just want money. And so the other way it'd be behind a counter somewhere safe, maybe locked up or whatever. And it's not in their face. Nobody's pressuring them to use it for the sake of money. And it's not poisoned and all those other kind of things. But I don't want to forget my point to try to keep this simple. Licensed dealers are what we need, right? And whether it goes in doctors' hands or other dealers' hands, I'd say the stronger forms go in doctors' hands. I'm not sure if that's just actually a new analysis, a new observation that maybe the stronger forms go in doctors' hands for more severe pain and things. But the plant forms might go in a licensed dealer's hands, because there's a problem with doctors being in control of it all too. But so my point is, I'm against using caffeine. So I'm trying to show I'm actually for less use. I'm for abstinence. If you've never used coffee before, don't do it. If you've never used chocolate before, don't do it. If you've never used green tea or black tea or any other caffeinated tea before, I suggest not doing it. Now, if you're falling asleep at the wheel, it might be your first time to think about doing it. Driving late at night, if you can't pull over, then you might try a caffeinated product. But once you do it, you may want it another time. So, but that's not good for you. So I'm against that. I'm a nutritionist. I'm into health, nutrition. I'm not saying I've disciplined myself not to, but it's been a battle, and I've tried to stay off of those kind of things, and other drugs and alcohol. I've stayed off them, and I've had more success through some periods of my life than at others. But in a way, I wish I was never exposed to it in the first place. But it is. They're all medicines. And so I suggest that if you've never tried a certain medicine, don't do it. You don't need a medicine unless you're sick. So it's not a sin to use medicine, but you don't need to if you don't need medicine, it's best not to use it. I'm not saying you can't, but it's risky, especially today with all the illegal ones that are poisoned, and people jump you, they rob you. That's prevalent. And I guess this video is mostly just to show that I'm for cutting back on sugar. I'm for cutting back on Tylenol, aspirin. But you learn, I know all about those things. I've studied them. I know you can't take aspirin if you have a concussion. You can only take Tylenol. You can't take anything that would somewhat thin the blood. You can't take when you've had a concussion. There are certain things you can't take much of it when you have blood thinner, I guess, for cholesterol. Let's see, what's for blood clots, to prevent blood clots, like an official blood thinner. So, but if you've never taken those things, don't take them. Don't get exposed to it. But if you're needing something, I say start off conservatively. Find the most strict method of medicating yourself. And we should actually be taught that first. The most strict methods of medicating ourselves with herbs, natural herbs, such as, which aren't even considered necessarily medicinal herbs, but they are slightly. stuff like ginger root, stuff like theanine from tea, extracted from tea, to help you sleep, or 5-HTP, which actually comes from food, hydroxytryptophan. Tryptophan comes from food. It's an amino acid. So you take that to help your serotonin levels and help you sleep instead of taking the psychiatric meds. You take, and that's natural, what I'm talking about, the 5-HTP, and it helps you have a more balanced mood and keeps you from being depressed. It helps you alleviate depression. Basically low serotonin levels. Helps you sleep better when it's time. Helps you, if you get woken up and go to the restroom, it helps you be able to go right back to sleep better. All natural. So there's a lot of methods like SAMe, SAME, S- I think AME. I hadn't looked at that in a while. That's the most expensive one. That's why I don't stay familiar with it. But that's from methionine. It's from amino acids. The amino acid methionine, and it's I guess, I don't know if they call it conjugation. I'm rusty on that stuff. But it's a derivative of the amino acid methionine, and I forget what it's mixed with. That it's maybe MSM, which is part of the synthesis process in the body naturally. But anyway, that's one of the best things for mood, for depression. And it's probably more like $35, whereas 5-HTP, you might find it for $8. Or at a Dollar General or something, or a Family Dollar General, I think, you may find a bottle of 5-HTP for $3.95. And some of them, right? So, I mean, I believe that's 30 pills. You only need one a day. I mean, maybe 3 a week instead of one a day. So, because that's the nature of it. If your body's caught up on serotonin, then why take a pill? Give yourself a couple of days, and if it seemed like your serotonin level went down, then you take it just to bring it back up to normal. So it doesn't really, I don't see how it benefits you if your serotonin level's where it should be. You can't see my hands, I'm sorry. If your serotonin level's where it should be, and it's not lowered, then what's the point in taking 5-HTP? Because save your pills for when it goes back down and give it a few days. So melatonin is the same thing, but it helps your body produce its own melatonin naturally. Melatonin is a hormone, and you don't want to use a hormone. So, I mean, regularly, because you want your body to produce it. You don't want to stop your body from producing that hormone. So melatonin is not the best thing, but if you do take melatonin, take it once a week, not every day. Twice a week at the most. But I'd say take 5-HTP, not melatonin. Or take tryptophan, the amino acid itself. You might only find that in a health store or maybe online. So, I mean, I'm definitely for health and drinking water and make ginger tea instead of caffeinated teas. Add some cloves to your tea. I'm for drinking carob powder instead of chocolate. Make carob powder into a drink instead of chocolate milk. Make chicory powder instead of drink instead of coffee to avoid the caffeine and the strong laxative effects which dehydrate you and all those kind of things. I'm for health. But the medicines, sometimes people feel they need a medicine or they've been pre-exposed to a medicine, and they should be able to get the safe forms without being robbed, without us calling it a sin. And so those medicines, some medicines actually help people with levels of depression better than others do, and some people don't. They do better with a certain kind of medicine. They may be allergic to one kind. So it's good. I think they should quit. They should license scientists to work with medicinal plants, such as the coca leaf and the marijuana plant, or what do they call it? But they've made something called methadone from the heroin plant. And people should continue to be warned against these things, about anything that could be addictive. But they should have this safer forms. They have, in the streets, you got mixed forms. Not just mixed, or it's just too strong. And people are paranoid. People are scared of being in trouble. But the punishment shouldn't be so severe that you put them out of housing and things. You should have even if we keep the system the way it is, they should have mandatory rehabs. But my view on this when I say these things is obviously I want less use. I want people to understand to use it less. But there is a point where people should be able to make their choices. And it's between them and God. But if it's causing them to steal from somebody or to harm people and lose their temper and all, then they need to go to rehab. And we should have better rehabs that even teach against real addiction, which include the addiction of caffeine and Tylenol and all those kind of things. So now sometimes you have to have Tylenol or aspirin for medical reasons. But if you can, you try to stay off of those and get some rest and stay off of those and rest instead. And in a rehab, right? And so rehab shouldn't be stealing people's jobs from them. They should be reasonable and help people to keep their jobs, except in extreme circumstances. So you go to rehabs, but you make a rehab mandatory instead of kicking somebody out of housing. And that's the method that they should have. And I'm saying that's even if in the system now the way it is, they should do that. But if they do improve the system and make legal venues and make it all the way legal, where the feds don't say we can override it and they play all these tricks, and you fully regulate, because they're not fully regulating. What they did is legalize some marijuana in different places and states, and it's still illegal federally. So they can override that. But what happened is they started talking about it being healthy. It's healthy, it's healthy. And then so people go to the streets still to get it. They make it kind of hard to get licensed to get the medical kind. But they go to the streets to get their stuff. And it's mixed. And now a lot more people have done it because they didn't realize all the rules weren't thorough. They didn't realize regulation is key. And they mixed it and they poisoned it. And you got a lot of people who are talking to themselves. I mean, their minds are gone because they poisoned it and mixed it with other things in the streets. And that doesn't mean that medicine did it. Now, any medicine can hurt your mind if you take it all the time regularly. You should only take medicine. That's why you don't want it in doctors' hands fully, because they may say you need to take this medicine every day. Then the truth is you want to take medicines when you need them and get right back off it. There's always side effects, right? So that's right there. I'm promoting less use, not more use. And that's why I don't want it just in doctors' hands, except for the strongest stuff. And probably some of the liquors in the liquor store should only be in doctor prescribed. The strongest ones, but that's debatable because a lot of people will take it home and won't use it. They'll mix it and dilute it, and it saves them money. But technically, if they drink it in the strongest forms, that's dangerous. I mean, so they don't need it except for extreme pain or something after surgery or whatever. But not at that strength. And there may be other uses for it, which the scientific uses that I'm not aware of, mechanical uses, I don't know. But so it's debatable. Should it just be in doctors' hands? But you don't want doctors saying you need this, like the SSRI drugs. You need to take this every day. I'm against that. And might be a few extreme cases where it helps for a short period of time. I would still say never for a long period of time. If you're going to have to take it every day for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month at the most. Almost hardly ever would I agree to 6 months. There are medicines you have to take every day for blood, cholesterol, and different things like that to keep you alive, keep you from having a heart attack. But as far as pain medicines go and psychiatric medicines, never would I want. I would always. That's why you don't want. That's why I say maybe just a licensed dealer, an adults only option somewhere somebody can choose to buy their medicine, so they can take it only as needed. And some good doctors will say yes, only take it. You don't have to take it except when you need it for stress, when you have insomnia, and because you don't want it to hurt your body. Anything too much of any medicine can hurt your body. Too much of any medicine can eventually wear down and take your mind. And things like that. So it's a medicine. It's dangerous. God warns us about medicines and not using them just for entertainment and staying drunk and forgetting who God is and all that. But if you kill somebody, or if you're prone to fight, we'll say, and if you're prone to want to steal when you use a medicine, or you're prone to misbehave sexually, or to lust too much and want to worship sexual desires and things like that when you take a certain medicine, then you need to switch medicines, cut back on your medicine, or quit the medicine, or go to rehab if you can't. And that's the reality of it. And that's I'm saying under a system if they actually fixed it and had it all legalized. But and if you do steal or you do hurt people while you're on a medicine, you should be punished the same way somebody would if they were not on a medicine. You should have to pay people back the same way people should have to pay people back when they steal. When we don't even have that in place. But we should be having thieves pay back who they robbed. And so this is a generalization because obviously it's dangerous to approach a thief. It can be. And so that's why you involve police. Because you need an army of people to go get the person to make sure that you don't need to get hurt trying to get your stuff back. And you don't need to blow up and kill them either. It's something they can pay back. And so they need to be held accountable. It's your stuff. They owe you. If somebody steals from you, they put themselves in debt. They created that debt. They owe you. Right? So they're supposed to owe you. And the system we have now, people are allowed to steal from an addict. That's devilish. That is devilish. It opposes God's 10 Commandments. And our government supports it. Our churches support it. And it's devilish. If somebody steals from you, they owe you, according to God, up to 7 times what they stole. And also it says 7 times because it shouldn't be any more than 7 times. All right, so when we sue people, it shouldn't be any more than 7 times of the infraction. And we can also have mercy. We can also pardon the thing. You can also let them pay half back what they stole and say, okay, it's a lot of money. We forgive you, and we don't want to take your whole life over it. We see you're repentant. We see you're cooperative, and we hope that you learned your lesson. You can it's your choice, but we're not really assessing those things. We're letting insurance pay back stolen cars for when people have full coverage instead of having the thief pay back the car. So that's also better for the thief a lot of times because the thief comes out, unless they're stolen from a lot of other people that nobody caught him for, but they can come out of jail feeling not vindicated, but reconciled, knowing the person they robbed isn't after him anymore, because that has to be assessed too. The justice system doesn't want you taking revenge. It shouldn't want you to take revenge. But want justice. And so that person should be safe when they come out. But second of all, if they pay you back in jail, or as a matter of fact, they might get caught with what they stole and they just give it back. And then, then you assess how long they should be locked up or whatever, assuming if they do it all the time to people. It's different things like that. Sometimes they don't need to be locked up. You settle it out of court, you resolve it, you apologize, or you just give them a second chance, But if they go in jail, and we should have a system where they can work and pay you back, then they get out earlier. A lot of times they get out quicker than they would otherwise. We don't need to over-punish people. We need to quit over-punishing people. But on the other hand, if they were violent, you have to assess if it's safe for the public for them to be out, right? So that's a legitimate assessment and legitimate thing we don't know for sure. So, but you have to consider if they were armed robbery or violent, uncooperative. You have to consider those things and for the safety of the public, okay? So, but that stuff all exists 20 times over or more, maybe 100 times over, literally, because of our devilish medicinal drug law system, right? So we should have, well, we're tricked. I'm not saying we did it all on purpose. It is tricky. It's like, oh, this is dangerous, we can't legalize this, and all those kind of things. I think you have to be responsible as producers of managers of the medicine from the scientific standpoint, from the production standpoint, from having responsible, regulated, tested medicines and levels so people know how strong it is and it's not poisoned and mixed, which it can happen. But if you have it regulated, it's not going to happen as much. So when they legalize it, if they legalize it, it's been changed. They've changed their mind before because they got a poison batch. Well, it's getting poisoned all the time the way it is now. So you went ahead and decided not to do it the proper way because you're not convinced it's the proper way, but it is the proper way. Because somebody poisoned a batch or something happened to the batch. Well, it's not going to keep happening all the time. Not as much as it happens out in the streets when killers have it, when thieves have it. They poison it on purpose all the time. All the time. They poison it on purpose. They give them the wrong product on purpose. They do those kind of things. So you put it where it has a label, and then it'll be an easier system. You'll have some addicts, but you have them on camera buying this stuff. I mean, and you have accountability system. You have better rehabs. You have rehabs that don't put them out of commission, so they're not afraid to go for help. They're less discriminated against, so they're not afraid to go for help. They're less severely punished, so they're not afraid to go get help and keep their job and go to rehabs on the weekends to keep their job and get an education about switching medicines or coming off medicine or that they need to cut back. An education about the 10 Commandments, about love your neighbor laws, we'll call it. Because specifically, you can almost leave out, thou shalt not commit adultery. I'm not saying to leave that out of your personal life. But the love your neighbor laws, or more specifically, what we do that hurts our neighbors. The adultery hurts yourself mostly. In some cases, it hurts other people, right? I mean, when you cheat on somebody, you're hurting somebody. But you're hurting yourself when you commit adultery. But when you're stealing and you're lying against your neighbor, telling lies that can get them robbed or get them hurt, or you can hurt the whole country. You lied about Donald Trump being racist, and he gave $200 billion to black colleges and black businesses, and you won't talk about that. You lied about him being racist to steal the country away from a good leader, from having good leadership. And then you're sending fentanyl over here, fentanyl poisoning like crazy. You're bringing in fentanyl poisoning, drug poisoning to our country, and still putting people in jail instead of rehabs and stuff, and taking people's houses away. And so, I forgot the point before that, but so there's a lot of points that go with that I just don't have time to go into right now. But you got all that. I mean, you see where I'm going here? Can you see, is the puzzle starting to come together, how we're so backwards? I understand how people are scared of it. I understand that it's dangerous. It's more dangerous now than it would be the other way. It's there's going to be still dangers, but you have better rehabs. People aren't scared to go to rehab. Like I said, that's where I left off and forgot. People don't go to rehabs. They're scared to go to rehabs. People don't. If they go, they're not even telling the truth. They're saying, once an addict, always an addict. They never have theft rehab. The biggest rehab people need nowadays is actually theft rehab. People who use, they get robbed. They always get robbed. The system says they can be robbed. The dealing groups rob them. And their cohorts. Sometimes it's their addict. The people who they have watched their backs to make sure the police aren't coming and all this stuff. And they're smokers. They're users. And they end up robbing. You know, it's not always the dealer. The dealer knows it goes on, but he can't do much about it. If it's a dealer there's some dealers that are, they're not just there to rob. They want to be a good, but the better, if they're a good dealer and they don't have their thieves rob from their customers, then they become more popular and then they get caught. So sometimes some of them are clever enough to let people keep robbing the customers so that their name doesn't become popular because they get more money. They just have a few customers, steal all their money, steal their whole bank account. The consumer has no defense. They can't call and say they robbed me because I used an illegal drug. They can't call. They can't get any help with that. And so they know they can rob. They can have 10 customers and rob $1,000 from each one. And a lot of people think, oh, they went and spent all their money on drugs. No, they would have. If they spent $30 on drugs, they might have died of overdose. That's the reality in a lot of cases. So there's certain ones you can do a little more of without dying, or depends how fast you go. If they're pretty pure and not poisoned. So, technically, the reason that protects them is because they only have 10 customers. I mean, they may have more than that, but they don't have 1,000 customers. They can't advertise exactly. They do some advertising, but they have to be careful about it. Or if they did, they might have more customers. But which goes against my point that if you legalize and they're allowed to advertise, you should have limited advertising for that stuff. But you have responsible advertising. And you're not sitting there trying to make sales and grow your sales. They should have rules about that if they legalize. That you're not sitting there trying to grow your sales for profit. It should be almost like a nonprofit. So, in other words, as far as advertising, people can be educated to know where it is. But it's not, you got to assume if you're going to work in that field, you should assume you're going to have somewhat of a limited income. And that's going to be a battle. Maybe people advertise, but people got to be educated and know it's not healthy. Either way, it's still up to, under that proper procedure of medicine sales and everything, medicine markets, we'll call it. People are going to know they're going to be responsible themselves. They have to be responsible. You hold them accountable, and you do make more rehabs, more mandatory rehabs. And so I'm promoting less use by doing that. And believe it or not, it should be less use. Obviously, people do drink coffee, but we're not telling the truth about coffee. We don't warn people that it's not good for you, to limit it. They're always saying it's good for you. And that's wrong, too. That's a lie. It's not good for you. It's good like a medicine. It has side effects like a medicine. That's bad for you. So it's good to limit it. It's good to know you can have a heart attack and a stroke when you drink coffee or too much chocolate. I did too much chocolate yesterday, and I'm just feeling my body out, hoping I don't have a stroke or something, or a heart attack. I did too much. And so I'm waiting, just taking it easy till it wears off. And I haven't done chocolate in a while, but I did. And I'm done with it. Almost. But I'm weaning off it. Thinking about buying another chocolate bar to wean off it. But now I'm done. I thought about doing that today, but the day's over. I'm not gonna prolong it another day. I'm done. If I do any, it'll be milk chocolate. I don't like milk chocolate because they add too much sugar to the milk chocolate products. But really, milk chocolate, you're not hurting yourself too bad as far as caffeine goes. So, but by the time I sleep tonight, I'll know how to do other things I'm weaning off the sugar and everything. So I guess I'll finish with that. But yeah, my goals here are good goals. Whoever twists it to be something else, they're way, way, way off and they're brainwashed. And I'd say delusional. We're delusional. A lot of us are delusional. And I'm seeing that more and more as I uncover and realize we haven't licensed scientists to work with the stuff. And the stuff's going to keep growing in the ground. We need to it probably should be confiscated for the use for scientists and to have, all the fields, all the poppy fields, whatever you call them, marijuana fields, heroin fields, coca leaf fields, and whatever else, mushrooms. And so, like the mushrooms, they're psychedelic mushrooms and stuff. They shouldn't, when they make it, the point is I don't know a whole lot about that, but when they do I know something about coca leaf and all. It has antidepressant properties and pain medicine properties. And very good pain medicine properties, which is partly what's addictive about it. And I guess the antidepressant can be addictive too, but it does work. And so it's anytime you take a pain medicine, that can be pleasurable and heighten your sensuality. And so that's not good for a spiritually minded person. But it serves its purpose as a medication. If let's say, you just went through a hurricane and lost your house. Some people say, so what? Tough it out. Well, some people, it would help to have a little medicine. I'm not saying that as a promotion. I say, I agree, try to tough it out. But for some people that don't recover, matter of fact, most people can recover. But if some people use medicine from the street and get robbed, they get more and more depressed. And it's really hard to overcome thinking they can never recover. They think they can never recover because they keep getting robbed. And they really think they can never recover. And they have a real extreme mental illness level of depression. And sometimes it can help them to have a medicine instead of going back out to where people rob them to get it, and just get past a day of depression or whatever. And the next day, work on getting your energy back and try to stay away from, if a real medicine, just take it for the one day, 2 at the most. Don't take it 3 days. So, but in that kind of situation, if you're stuck, you have no other social life and you're stuck around thieves and stuff, and you need to stay locked in your house because you're surrounded by a thieving neighborhood or whatever, sometimes it helps you to, for me, even to drink coffee to keep myself on lockdown. I got too much energy and don't want to sit in the house. I can drink coffee, and it does help me sit still and be okay if I need to be on lockdown for a while. But, so, I mean, it can help, and I'm not saying that's the best thing. It's better if, it is the best thing if you can't contain yourself, but if it's better to contain yourself and pray, read the Bible, study politics, get health, stay healthy, get healthy. But sometimes a medicine actually can help temporarily now. It's not a long-term fix, but it can help you through a bump, so you don't, if you're being suicidal or something. If it can help, and I don't care what people say. Okay, I'll quit trying to explain. I don't care what somebody says about, who cares? They should be able to tough it out and do it without medicine. The medicine can help stop somebody from going and beating somebody up. They can help. They can use it to sedate somebody who keeps attacking police in a prison, stuff like that. Or keeps attacking cellmates. They can use a sedative to calm a person like that down that won't quit, and that helps, because of maybe after a day or two, they're coming back down off the medicine, and they've gotten over what they were angry about. Some of them are just straight haters, and they still keep refreshing that anger on purpose. But it does help. It does help. If I've had maybe 3 times in my life where I was so angry I couldn't. I tried to quit being angry and couldn't quit. And I don't remember taking medicines. I guess I've drunk or gotten escape, gone away, get away from where I'm at for a while. And I've done different things at different times. But there were times where I was so angry that it wasn't just a one-day anger, but it took a long time. And I don't know. I'm not saying I used medicine for it. But it took a long time for my anger to wear off, for me to heal up, because I kept suffering through consequences of something, a situation, not my fault, not a situation that was my fault necessarily. Well, and I'll say, with COVID, when COVID came, there were some circumstances out of my control, and I was angry for a while. 2020, and had wanted to do some work, and I couldn't do my work. I was mad that my work was postponed, and I continued to get angry about it. It was a continual annoyance. I'll put it like that. So I wasn't taking medicine for it, but it took a long time to deal with it, and and I worked hard at it, at dealing with not worrying about it. But so for that, I'm not going to say medicine's going to help with that, because you don't want to just keep taking medicine and keep taking medicine. You just have to keep reminding yourself and tough out the pain and put your focus somewhere else. But if somebody's having an extreme temper, which that's not me, I'm not saying I've never have, but if you're having a day where you have an extreme temper, that's when a medicine could help for a short period of time where you have an extreme temper. Whereas mine was a long-term battle, but it wasn't extreme. It could escalate to that, and if it was confronted in the wrong way. But so I don't care what anybody says. These idiots they're idiots who want to demonize medicine and say and they want to kill somebody for taking Tylenol. I've met people like that. They think, how dare you? We have a perfect body and perfectly. I've never taken medicine in my life. And that's their God, or they think they're so much better than everybody else for never taking medicine. I mean, you have those types, and those are some of the ones that still push and make the illegal stuff the way it is, and they keep fighting for it to be the way it is, and then they don't care and then they support people stealing from people and hurting people who use medicine and all that kind of stuff. That's insane. Tyranny, dictatorship. They love the power of being a dictator and all this kind of stuff, and actually, some people that take medicine perform better than those people do. Those people, part of the reason, if you're taking a medicine to help you keep your temper and not hurting somebody, that's the point is you're loving your neighbor and you're trying not to hurt anybody. Plus, you don't want to suffer consequences. You don't want to go to jail. So you've actually done something better by helping yourself with a medicine in that case. And you've done it for the right reason. So now if you're taking a medicine, steroid or something to take revenge and make you stronger, or just to purposely make you angrier, if you're using a medicine to purposely make you angrier or numb the pain to go take revenge on somebody, then you took it for the wrong reason. Now that can be done too. Some terrorist groups now are taking methamphetamine to help them with pain and endurance. But it's not healthy for their bodies. But temporarily, they don't feel the pain. They can fight and not feel the pain and stuff. And that's the wrong reason to take it. And it's actually, overall, you're not going to have a better military unit for doing that. Maybe in certain spurts. But anyway, I'll get off of that. But the fact is, we need to have stuff regulated for poison and have the right labels, price gouge. We need to disempower the thieves and killers who try to deal that stuff and quit demonizing it, and then have better rehabs and where people aren't scared to go to rehabs. And those are all reasons that will minimize use, not maximize. It won't cause for more use. And then you educate people and educate them about nutrition. You're also educating them that caffeine's a medicine too, and that chocolate's a medicine, which we don't do today because we want to qualify those to be used. And because they don't take your mind as far, but they actually, in long-term use, you can have a short temper from taking too much caffeine for too long, for just within a year. I've done it once. And so I'm going to cut this off because I want it to make sure it downloads. And when it gets too long, it doesn't download. Had no idea this would be this long, but it's like a series. I'm going to have to keep talking these issues so people can see it. I understand it. Why do I understand it more specially than other people? I think just because as a kid, I read the red letters of the Bible, Jesus' words, and I was addicted to reading Jesus' words. And I understood that we see things, we think we see something a certain way sometimes, but Jesus went and spoke to people that other people wouldn't speak to. And he saw beyond human misconceptions, and he cared for the people. And I've had people I care for too that are caught out there, and I knew they weren't being treated right and they deserved a second chance. And I knew they weren't hurting people, and I knew they had a medicine problem, but they weren't hurting people, but they were being punished too severely, couldn't get out from where they were. And the medicine ends up becoming a pain number because nobody would give them redemption. Nobody would allow them redemption. And so that's the way I viewed it, and I saw through it, and I realized we've been tricked with these laws, and some people did it on purpose early on, but it's also easy to fall for because obviously people can act. You can take a medicine and take too much and act and be insane, temporarily insane. And so that's why, though, you need it regulated and scientists to be licensed to work with it, to make softer forms and to have the softer forms available. And then so they don't run into the poison and the tough forms. And then you hold at that point you can really crack down and hold addicts accountable for their behavior, and that they need to be responsible if they're going to use the medicine. And you quit suing doctors at that point too, because it's up to, if you get everything right and in place and really clamp down on even making cigarettes safer, and take the tar out of them, and if they still put fiberglass in them, take that out, obviously. And you educate about nicotine pills that you get 2 milligrams of nicotine. And that's worse than the cigarette with 2 milligrams because that burns out. So they're not getting the whole 2 milligrams. But if you're taking the pill or the gum, you're getting the whole 2 milligrams, and that can give you a stroke. So we gotta let people know all these things. But in today's system, we demonize it so bad we don't talk about these things, and we put ourselves in a worse situation. So that's where we need to go with it. Why aren't we really learning organically? We're not learning organically things. We're just learning for a grade and to get a stamp of approval and a certification, and then say, get out of my way. And we don't really care. That we just care about getting that grade. But you got to start loving your neighbor. And I'll end with that. 1 John 4:8, he that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love.